Staying with us on the decks on global televisions, where we'll be taking a look at some top stories in the national and, of course, on the foreign scene today. Joining me for this discourse is the broadcast journalist and the public affairs analyst Ramsey Agbo, who is, of course, here in the studio to join us on the conversations today. Good to have you, Ramsey.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure having me.
I hope you are holding up well regarding the economic reality of the country.
Well, we're trying our best.
Yeah.
Well, even though Daddy is out of the country.
I don't even know what the visit to Ghana this time. Have they been able to brief us on the visit to what is going to Ghana for?
You know, Ngalale will have so many things to say. Ajuri Ngalale, the spokesperson to the president, he always have things to say. They've said they are going for business trip. He's going to attend a conference, actually, but then there are some documents to be signed and all of that. Maybe all in the bid to war investors. Let's just keep our fingers crossed and see if the economy will be good enough for them to come invest.
Quite a lot of developments. We do hope that the president is back on time to still fix the issues in the country, because sometimes Nigerians are saying, no need for you to travel, stay back in the country and see how we can actually get Nigeria out of this. Of course, the NLC has suspended their yesterday day 2 strike.
I don't want to talk about that. Because I'm actually angry with the president.
But they did the protest.
They did a protest. People were ready for this protest. Then you suspend a protest coming out today to tell the people that you were under threat and you had to suspend the protest. Whoever on earth go for a protest without expecting a threat? Even in school, you know how it happens. Even the Aluta boys, whatever you want to do, if it is protest, you expect a threat. So as an NLC president, and you're coming to tell the people that you suspended the strike, when people are, Mike, the number of people that turn up for that protest,
yes,
it was massive.
I was there.
And it's a sign that people are hungry. And kudos to Oyo State Governor for joining in the protest. And today he was in the market to say, well, the prices of commodity have to be reduced.
All right, let's begin today's conversations with issues of ECOWAS and Niger and Burkina Faso and all of these. So a few days ago, ECOWAS had to review the sanctions on Niger. Of course, there's so many things that they were depriving Niger for the fact that the military regime have taken over their country, and of course the agitation for democratic leadership to go back. And this was the Niger that told ECOWAS, we are done with you, we are forming our own bloc, we can do without you and all of this. Do you find this quite very confusing for ECOWAS in a time like this?
Well, I think remember it was Burkina Faso, okay, Mali and Niger that said, well, the sanction is there. We no longer want to be part of ECOWAS anymore, so we want to be on our own. And we heard a lot when ECOWAS came up to say, no, it hasn't gotten to that. Let's get on the negotiation table. And we don't know what actually transpired, okay, behind closed doors anymore, but we never heard there was any form of negotiation like ECOWAS said they would want to. But coming to hear that sanctions have been lifted, it was surprising to everyone who heard about it. But then they've come out to say, ECOWAS have come out to say, the president have come out to say, well, we need to do this because of certain reasons, for the benefit of the citizens. Okay, but then the question I would want to ask ECOWAS is, what about the coup d'etat? Has it also been reversed? Because it's the reason for the sanction, all right? You're sanctioning me because you felt I've done something wrong. Then you are removing the sanction. Then it should be that maybe, number one, I am now feeling remorse for what I did. Or secondly, I have totally upturned what I did earlier, okay? That is to say, well, I am rehanding over to the civilian government, okay, and reversing the coup, which I feel is not possible at this point in time. So at some quarters, there is a confusion why the sanction is being lifted. And at some quarters, some people are rejoicing. We heard that some northern elders were actually very happy about the lifting of the sanction, especially on that of Niger. And you know, they share common boundary. You know what they benefit from themselves. And the disconnection and so many things, all right, that happened to Niger as a result of the coup d'etat and the sanction. I think everything, it's okay with them now. But I don't know. The big question and the fear now is, what about other African countries? Okay? Are you not foreseeing more coup?
Because
if there is a coup, you can no longer sanction the other countries. You know why? Because these other ones did, and they went scot-free. So that is the implication.
Another aspect has been the issues of economic benefit. That was also the the benefit of being a member of the regional bloc. Of course, for you to belong to ECOWAS, there are a lot of protection, the share benefit, and all of that. And for the fact that Niger has a capacity, to say we can do this alone, meaning that, and of course, if you go to Niger, the people are very happy. The citizens are happy.
You need to see the level of celebration.
They are rejoicing over that. And one may begin to ask questions. Is it not time that African leaders also pay attention to the fact that our politicians, our leaders that are in the democracy dispensations are not helping, our country, are not helping our region? Because if you look at Niger, for the past few months that they've been on that military regime, they have been one of course, the economy, GDP have raised from what it was under the democracy governance, and this also shows the fact that corruption was so deep in the country. And if you look at other African countries, this is the issues. Don't you feel that it's high time African leaders need to understand that they are more corrupt, and the essence of democracy is not real, dividends of democracy is not being felt by the people?
I was telling someone, I had a program, okay, and on a television station, and I was saying something like, if not until, okay, the leaders know the actual essence of democracy, we cannot get it right. It is government of the people, for the people, and by the people. You don't get into governance and you separate yourself from the people. That means democracy is not having its course at that point in time. Going back to what you just said, the people were very happy when military took over. That is to tell you that the people themselves are tired of democracy, because the essence of democracy wasn't achieved in the first place. What they brought to the table as politicians is corruption. And this corruption, what happens most times is the fact that when this corruption is playing out, the common man suffers it. Okay? If you want to talk about electricity, there are people in governance, okay, government officials, who don't even know whether there is power failure or not. We heard recently that tariff, electricity bill accumulated in some parastatals, in some agencies, even at the presidential villa. But then this is something that the power holding company, or whatever they are being called, will come to the house of the common man, and if you are owing them just a month, they go to disconnect your light. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. In this, I'm trying to say the people, okay, are not really being treated the way they ought to have been treated by these politicians. It's no longer government of the people for the people anymore, but it's now for a selected few. And they've done it such that if you don't belong to a particular cabal, you cannot even come into governance. And that is the reason you see a whole lot happening when it comes to election. You can see what is happening in those states. PDP election, 2 people won primaries. Shaibu came up, was it yesterday, to say, well, I won. But why was the certificate given to the other man?
He went to the National Secretariat.
Went to the PDP National Secretariat at Wuse Zone 5 in Abuja to also receive his certificate. And at the end of the day, he said, well, let it all end in court. I think what this administration is all about is court, 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 court. Even though I am not trying to say the judiciary is not doing its job, but then
they're not doing the best.
Their best to some persons is not good enough based on research that we've done so far.
Quite very sad, and these are much concern to us, because the moment where ECOWAS keep losing some of these countries back to the military, and it may actually have a challenge in the future where the sense of peace, the sense of democracy, human rights, all of these benefits would be out of Africa. And of course, we do hope that it doesn't get to that positions. And do you still feel that the President Tinubu has the capacity as it stands now to still keep on leading ECOWAS in a crisis time like this? Because it's quite so unfortunate that in his time.
Well, when your house is in disarray, you need to put up
because Nigeria is also
fire.
facing an issue.
The heat
and some Nigerians are clamoring that what happened in Nigeria should also...
I am not saying that. I didn't say that.
I mean some Nigerians.
But then...
Even the military have responded. They have responded because there was a report that the military at the presidential villa are also making some...
I think there was a write-up. There was a write-up on social media also by a military officer that tilted towards that direction. But the defense headquarters came out to say, well, we are not plotting any coup. So but nobody is ever plotting a coup and would come to tell you they are plotting a coup. And we are not trying to say anyone is plotting a coup anyway.
To get to social media, for that report to
no, in every rumor they said there is an atom of truth.
For that report to get to their own reply, for them to be able to reply
to it.
Something is actually going on.
We don't know. But then the lifting of this sanction is a message. I don't know if you understand. There was a coup d'etat, all right, taken over from the civilian government by the military government, all right. Then there was a sanction. Then after a while, the sanction is being lifted up. And there are other African countries where people are suffering so much. Don't you think anything can actually happen? Don't you think other people may be warming up to do the same thing and feel whether or not there is a sanction they will want to pull out, and the sanction may be forgiven them by anybody that is responsible in time being? So that is the fear. Well, we pray that Nigeria gets its strength back again. Nigeria is a great country. Then, based on what you say concerning the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as it is, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, well, with what is happening right now, I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have actually told Niger and other aggrieved countries that the best way to go is negotiation and not just pulling out. All right. So for now, he is still in charge. Okay. But subsequently, we don't know what it's going to happen. But we still wish he continues there in ECOWAS.
I need to do better because
he needs anybody that is occupying that seat needs to be smart. See, leading ECOWAS is different from leading a country. You saw what just happened. Niger, Burkina Faso coming together, all right, Mali coming together to say we're not part of ECOWAS again. You want to tell me they don't have a backing somewhere? Well, let's don't go there for now.
All right. We'll take a look at some issues coming in from the country, and of course, right of steps to Benue State Governor Aliya of Benue State has instituted 2 separate judicial commissions of inquiry to probe the management of the state resources and assets under his predecessor, Samuel Ortom's administration. Ali charged the 2 commissions of inquiry, which inaugurated on Monday night, to scrutinize the former administration between 2015 to 2023. Quite very coincidentally, that's your very home state as well. And it's not just about Benue State. Of course, we'll not just take this look only at Benue State. Several times we find governors who when they are leaving office, when they are in government, they do so many things without in any way being afraid of what happened next, or being accountable, or showing some level of transparency. And that's why some of them actually, do a lot to make sure that they have a successor in office, because they do not want someone who may come to, start, asking them questions. But thanks to Benue State for giving us a PDP governor, and after 8 years, giving us APC governor. It gives room for scrutiny, it gives room for probing, and all of this. Do you feel that the step moved by your governor is a step in the right direction?
Well, I think there was a lot of battle in Benue State when it has to do with the 2023 governorship election that took place last year. I don't know, but then it was a whole lot of fights before Hyacinth Alia actually emerged as the governor. So much was being done. And like you rightly said, most times when these governors are in office, they do the undo because of the immunity clause. All right? But then, as it is for Benue State right now, right from the very first month that Alia came into office, some person said, well, this was more of a witch hunting, that he was witch hunting his predecessor. But then, what he was actually doing, okay, was in a way to look into the administration of the past government. What was the first thing that he did when he got into office? Every civil servant, okay, everybody in the state civil service that were employed, I think few months before Governor Otom left office, all of them were asked to withdraw. The appointments were withdrawn. And some persons felt bad because you know how employment in Nigeria is. You know, when you have the opportunity, the little opportunity, and you get an employment, then after a while, in a short while, someone is coming to remove food from your mouth, you feel bad. But then, sometimes, when the right thing is not properly done, there seems to be problem, all right? What were the antecedents that brought these people into the civil service? How much was on ground? This is a state that owed salaries for months, okay? Some civil servants are being owed. Then you are employing more civil servants. Where would their salaries come from? That is one thing. And one thing that I've discovered with governance in Nigeria is that the outgoing government, at the verge of living, even at the federal level, they do it. They go borrowing. Then they leave debt for their successors, which is not the best. That is not the best way to run government. One of the major problems that we have in democracy in this part of the world, in this climate, is that there is no continuity in governance. Whoever comes into the office will want to do everything possible to accumulate wealth for themselves. See what Alia is doing now. 2 panels set, and it will amaze you that the people heading this panel, okay, are retired judicial officers with good records. To an extent, you say, well, these people cannot be bent. These people will do a thorough job and all of that. One is to probe finances, okay? What was spent, the revenue generated, how was it spent, and all of that. One was to look into finances, then one was to look into assets. You know, when Alia came into office, we heard in the news that he went and claimed properties of his predecessor, cars from his garage and all of that. Those are assets. And he is not still satisfied with that. He's going ahead to do this probe. Well, if the hands of Otom is clean, he will have nothing to fear, all right? If his hands are clean. Now, nobody can say anything until otherwise proven by this panel, okay? Whatever, let's get to hear what the report of this panel is going to be. The report will come out, and if Otom's hands are clean, he will not have anything to fear, like I said, and he should be able to defend whatever report this panel is coming out with. So, since this panel has been set up, he should also set up his own panel too, in case there is anything to defend. Because, as a matter of fact, evidence is the end of argument. If you have evidence, then every other argument will not have basis. So we wish them the best of luck. If there is any state in this country that has gone through so much, Benue State is one of them.
Yeah,
Benue State is the food basket of the nation. But then insecurity, nobody can go to the farm.
So you are not more than the food basket?
In Agatu, as we speak, there is fights going on. In Zone A, there is fights going on. Everywhere, there is fights going on. There are roads that you can't ply right now in Benue State, in Zone C, because of the fear of crisis, attack by kidnappers, herdsmen. Okay, the Otukpa Expressway. Okay, these are places you cannot ply at certain time because of kidnapping. People cannot go to farm. So with all this going on, I don't think the people of Benue State need so much distraction by people in government. They should just make the state conducive for the people. At least salaries should be paid. You know, the people should have a conducive environment to farm. They don't have anything. Benue State is merely a civil service state. What do they have? They don't have anything. The farmland they have, they can no longer go to farm. So people are hungry. The hunger in Nigeria, in Benue State, is worse. If anything is happening in Nigeria, it's 2 times in Benue. The ripple effect of all these things tells on the common man.
We do hope that the governor is poised to get a report from the last administrations, and of course will come out very successful. And take a look at the fact that EFCC are not really doing their jobs because it seems EFCC are after maybe the anti-party governors, ex-governors, because sometimes you see an APC governor going about his normal life. We've seen in Kogi State, you know, there are so many reports coming into from Kogi State about the governor misappropriation of.
But you know, nothing is being done. Nothing is being done.
For Governor Alia to make this move, he's almost taking the job of EFCC because these are the jobs.
If EFCC fail to do your job, you do it because you are the #1 security agency, you are the #1 EFCC, you are the #1 ICPC, you are the #1 security intelligent person in your state as the governor. So you take it up.
So don't you feel that EFCC should, as a matter of fact, see, because quite a lot of times we make a concentration on the federal government. We leave the state government, you know, on blame. But you understand that for this country to work, the state governors have to work. The state government has to work. The funds sent from the federal government to the state must be utilized, must be accountable for. Because you have 3 tiers of government: the federal government, the state, and the local government. And if these 3 tiers of government are not properly being utilized, then the grassroots, because the people are in the states, the population of Nigerians are in the states.
They are in the states.
They are not in the federal capital
they are
territory.
not. They are
Look
not.
at the statistics of federal capital. We cannot even match to what is in Lagos.
They are not.
The people are living in local government. Everybody has a local government. Everybody has a local government. So EFCC has not in any way given us more confidence in the fact that the whole government accountable. We quite understand that immunities are covers governors when you're in office. But what happens when you are out of office? What are your assessment towards the effort of EFCC in probing, you know, several governors away from what your governor have done, which is a fantastic job, and not every governor have that courage, you know, to do that. You go to Rivers.
Alia is courageous.
Yeah, go to Rivers.
Alia is courageous.
We cannot find out the governor of Rivers State tried that with Wike. I'm not just saying, but that's the truth, obviously. And go to so many.
Michael, did I just hear you say something about Fubara and Wike?
Of course. It seems that, like as I said, some governors do not have the courage, you know, to do that, and that is a job of EFCC.
Let me tell you,
prescribed by the law. Do you feel the EFCC are doing enough?
Well, for me, some persons said, okay, I'm not the one saying it, but some Nigerians have said EFCC has been hijacked by the government of the day. That what they do mostly these days is haunting people that are not dancing to the tune of certain musics that we don't know. We common Nigerians don't even know about this music that they are talking about. That is one. Then secondly, if you want to talk about governance in Nigeria, everybody wants to be given responsibility because they know if being given these offices, something will come out of it. But nobody is ready for accountability. And you discover that the government of the day, what they do most times is give people assignments, you give people contracts, and there is nobody following these contracts up. You give me a contract, you give me an office to hold, and nobody is checking it. There is no check and balance. I come to the office, I do what I want to do, and I go back. Tomorrow, you give me a contract, I execute, and I come with papers. Nobody go to the field to do a supervision. Nobody call me and say, please, give account of A, B, and C. Right. So what do you expect? EFCC now, I think what EFCC is doing mostly now is that, first of all, you hear of an arrest, then later nothing happens again.
All right. Let me get to connect Shotima Peter, who is joining us from Lagos State in the conventions on the decks on Global TV today. Shotima, good to have you join us this afternoon on the decks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the invite. Thank you.
All right. We were, of course, having Ramsey Enoch making the conversations about the governor of Benue State making a move to probe the ex-governor Samuel Otom regarding his administration of 2015 to 2023. And we also take a look at not just to Benue, how state governors, how some state governors can begin to do this. And of course, EFCC, standing over their feet on the occasion to do their job. Do you feel the EFCC are doing enough in this regard? Because, as I said earlier, the state governors have a lot to contribute to the development of this country. But it seems we're having this low input from their end.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much. We can say categorically that the EFCC has become sort of a political tool by the government of the day, to which on they are perceived political opponents. So if you're not on the side of the government, the EFCC will probably use them. The EFCC will be used as a tool to which on political opponents. And I don't think that for a country to develop, for us to develop our systems, we should toe that line. What Governor Alia is doing in Benue State is commendable, but we must ask that very salient question. Is it a political witch hunt against the former governor of Benue State, or is this to ensure that we get justice and to ensure that we get accountability of the tenure of the former governor? So these are very important questions we should be asking ourselves, and we should ask ourselves this important question also, that if the former governor is of the same political party as Governor Alia, would he have gone ahead to probe him and to probe his administration? So these are very salient questions we should be asking. But, don't take anything away from Governor Alia. He's bold. And we have seen cases like this where former governors are having a serious fisticuff with their, successor. We also see that in the case of Rivers. Between Sim Fubara and Governor Wike. But if Alia's intention is right, I totally, appreciate and give him kudos for that. But this should not be a political witch hunt, as we have seen in the case of the EFCC being a tool by the government of the day to attack or to go after political opponents.
All right. So away from the fact that EFCC are also failing on their duties to probe government, and not just government, to track accountability of government, public officials. And governors are really the big fishes. My ex-governor from Akwa Ibom spent over 32 billion to build an international worship center, a misplaced of priorities. And these are stuff that wasn't even on the budget as of the year he constructed this. And we've had several reports coming from different states in respect to that. What do you feel that the people can begin to do, away from the fact that we may not necessarily have to wait for the FCC? I raised this question yesterday. And what should we begin to do? Because at the moment where we keep silence, at the moment where we do not have a means to try those who are taking the resources that belongs to the people, then we might wake up one day and then nothing is left for Nigerians.
I used to say that the office of the citizen.
All right, so Afio Network will try to get Shotima to respond towards that, because from the first statement it was about making was about office of the citizen, and we need to understand, there's a need for us to understand that as citizens we have a right to participate. In whatever government are doing. Quite very sad. A lot of Nigerians do not even know
that there is an office.
The state budget. The state budget. A lot of Nigerians are not well engaged. The level of engagement between government and Nigerians are very low. Now, even if you ask a common Nigerian, do you know the budget of this 2024 budget of your state?
A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know. And it is their right to know.
Now, when they don't even know how much their state have budgeted for the year to run, how then can they even begin to track, what the
The spending.
So the governors, I mean, feels the only few people that are in their party, all the
Michael.
commissioners. So it's sad.
There are so many informations, all right, that is not in the known of a lot of citizens. Do you know that your House of Rep member, you can recall that person from the house if the person is not representing you well? But these are things that a lot of people don't even know. And when these people get there, the only thing you see the citizens doing is bootlicking. You know what we call bootlicking in civil service?
Yeah.
Praise singing so that at least some crumbs can fall off the table for them.
All right, let me see if I can still get Shotuma to give his take on that question earlier asked. Shotuma Peters, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right,
Can I go ahead?
That.
Yes, I was saying that the office of the citizen is the highest decision-making body in the land. And once the people begin to understand how powerful they are and the authority that they wield, we begin to know what to do per time to ensure that we checkmate our leaders, our corrupt leaders. The people have the power to unseat any government. You know, it's just like a bunch of you against the majority. You understand what I'm saying? A bunch of you against the majority. And so once the majority speak, you know, they say the voice of the people is the voice of God. But due to fear, okay, look at the case of the NSAS protest. Look at the aftermath of the end.
All right, we do hope that is not MTN. Yesterday was very troublesome for Nigerians. We do hope that Shotuma is not a subscriber of MTN to actually experience this difficulty. But we do hope to have you more to get to connect with us. Right now, we'll be taking a look at another dimension of a discussion today, right after this break. Do stay with us. Don't go away. Many times for staying with us on the decks on global televisions, where we're taking a look at some top stories in the national and international scene. We're taking a look at the fact that the federal government said it has recruited 2,497 doctors, midwife, nurses, and community health extension workers in the last 6 months to bridge the manpower gap in the health sector due to the immigration of health workers. And this is said by the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, who disclosed on Wednesday during a press briefing organized by the Ministry of Information and National Orientation. Of course, in addition to 1,400 health facilities now had skilled birth attendants. This is a move by the federal government to discourage the JAPA syndrome, which is actually on the high side. And there's some questions that many Nigerians are asking in this aspect, that it's not just about the recruitment, it's not about getting more doctors to the hospital. That's some concerns by Nigerians. Do you share in the plight that Nigerians have, the federal government have recruited 2,497? Are you happy with that development?
Well, one thing is this. Before any decision is taken, before you go ahead to do anything, you get to the drawing table, put 1, 2, 3 together before you do certain things. Okay, they said they are recruiting this number to bridge the gap. What gap is that? That is people that have jackpot out of the country. There is a space, a gap that needs to be filled.
To replace.
Replacement. That has been done. But the reason why the first people left has the situation been addressed? What is that certainty that this new set of people that have been employed or recruited to bridge this gap will not also save money from this employment and jackpot later? I don't know if, see, sometimes some things are being done and you begin to ask questions, oh my God, how I wish I am the one in this office. Because sometimes some decisions are being taken, some things are being done, and you begin to ask questions. Who actually brought up this decision? See, if you like, employ as many as possible. Bridge the gap. The gap will surface one day. If the reason why the gap came in the first place is not being addressed. So what I think is not just bridging the gap, but what will you do for the gap not to be there anymore? Because it is still in this same country that a doctor in Lagos State died in the hospital inside an elevator. It is still in this country that you will see that a doctor will not be respected, will not be paid the way they are supposed to. It is still in this country that you will see doctors facing harassment. It is still in this country that you will see doctors going on strike. Where on earth, a place, a country where health is being prioritized, will you ever hear that doctors, nurses, midwives are going on strike? Do you know how many people go to the hospital every hour, every minute? Do you know how many people gasp for breath? Do you know how many people go on oxygen every minute? Do you know how many people come to the emergency ward every minute in different hospitals in this country? What about the facilities? Are the facilities available? These people don't even care about the facilities because in the first place, they don't even patronize the hospitals in this country. Any little thing, they are being flown out of the country for treatment. So what I feel the federal government should do is not just bridging the gap, but then looking at what informed this gap in the first place.
Right.
Why this gap in the first place? You don't treat an injury, okay, why the cause of the injury is still there.
All right. Let's see if we can get to have Sochima to contribute on the conventions. Sochima Peters, if you can hear me, the federal government said they have recruited about 2,497 doctors to fill in the gaps of those who japa out of the country. Of course, Ransom have just raised some of those concerns about our hospitals, the facilities quite very poor, the working environment, and even the welfareism of these health workers have not really been prioritized. And these has forced some of them to leave. What's your concern about this? Is a replacement the way forward?
Yeah, the replacement is a welcome development, but it has done little or nothing to the impending and the underlying problem. So if the foundation is not right, the Bible says that what can you do if the foundation is not right? All right. So the foundation is faulty. I once took my dad to the hospital for a medical treatment, and the doctor was sleeping. He was visibly sleeping, and not totally his fault, because he was totally exhausted. He was exhausted.
Oh, Sochima network, it's quite very terrible today and the contributions. We apologize to you viewers on that. We do hope to get in more to talk about this. And let's talk about what our health sector. Sometimes we look at the budget of the federal government, so much have been invested in that sector. But we've not seen any impact on it. We've seen hospitals, even the primary health sectors, I mean, in the villages, down in the rural areas, have not really been, put to use. We find no drugs at the hospital, no doctors to respond to you. Even the recommendation by United Nations has it, to some extent, how much doctors we need to match with the population of the country. We've not even gone to that aspect. We have about 1 doctor taking care of over 1 million population. Sometimes we look at it in this country. Do you feel that people that in the health sectors, I mean, those in the Ministry of Health are not really doing their jobs, and what the money, the funds government have been allocating to this ministry have not really been utilized?
Well, let me pick it up from where Sochima was actually trying to speak. He was talking about the fact that he took his father to the hospital and the doctor was sleeping. And the reason why he was sleeping is not totally his fault, but because he's exhausted, he's tired. And there are times that you can't cheat nature anymore, no matter how you try. Let me say something. In a situation whereby a doctor is that tired and there is an emergency, what do you think is the chances of making mistake? There are chances of making mistake because he's exhausted. At some point, he may not even be composed anymore. He's a professional. But then there are some things that you cannot cheat nature over. How many doctors today to one patient? As it's been recommended by the United Nations. Then let's talk about, you were talking about the budget. I think a lot of people, I've had people who said, well, I want to work in the health sector, the pay is robust, the budget is so big and so bogus and all of that. But at the end of the day, look at where we find ourselves. And this is the reason. Let me tell you, the amount that is being budgeted for the health sector, how many is actually disbursed accordingly?
So it is a misplacement of our priorities on the way.
It is one thing to make a budget, all right, for a particular sector. And it is another thing for this budget to be disbursed accordingly. And you know the Nigeria syndrome. There is no way 5 billion or 5 million or 500 million will pass through somebody's hand in Nigeria and nothing fall aside for him. That's what they do. And in a country where accountability is not prioritized, you see a lot of things happening. You were talking about the primary health care just now. My brother, if you go to some communities and you see what they call primary health care, you will weep for this country. And that is what the common man have access to.
That's in the grassroots.
The grassroots, the people at the grassroots who needs this thing, this health care more. That is what they have access to. And that is the dilapidated building somewhere. I've been opportune to work with an NGO, okay? And we have the opportunity of working with health workers, social health workers, and you get to some of these facilities, and if you are not emotionally strong, you will cry.
Quite a very sad
It is sad. That is
situation
where
in the
we
country.
are. So what I will still keep saying is, anywhere there is responsibility and there is no accountability, excellence suffers. So if you've given anybody a responsibility, hold that person accountable. Checkmate what that person is doing.
There are laws to checkmate all of this, but
Nobody is doing it.
There's a respect of the laws of the country that's most excellent that judiciary must do their jobs, because all of our institutions are getting weak day by day, and it seems something is really happening. And that's the sad reality of this country and must be attended to by the federal government and the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. So, Chuma, I will take a look now at another story that 12 years after the federal government on Monday has approved the implementation of some of the recommendations made by Stephen Oranse due to the reduction of cost of governance. Consequently, 29 government agencies will be merged, even as 8 parastatals will be subsumed into 8 other agencies. 4 agencies have been relocated to 4 various ministries, while 1 was marked for scrapping. The Minister of Information said this at the Aso Rock Villa on Monday during the Federal Executive Council meeting. What to you? We have been clamoring for cost of governance in the country, and now the federal government went back to a report after 12 years of Goodluck Jonathan's administration, to put into working, of course, to implement. Are this recommendation really the issues about the cost of governance in this country? Because some Nigerians are saying that the senators are still together. We still have about 109 senators. We still have about 360 House of Representatives. We still have about more elaborate ministers in the ministries and all of this. That this, Falana and other responsible Nigerians are actually coming out to say no, that this actually had expired, that at the time that they made this recommendation was due to the reality of at that time, probably due to the much agencies that we have at that time, was the implications of cost of governance, like the cost of running those agencies and parastatal was actually much at that time. But it seems right now that the ministries and agencies are not really a problem. And the federal government on Monday has implemented this and they've started work. Do you feel that this is a move?
Well, I think first, I want to give kudos to this administration, all right, for doing this in the first place. Even though they are not the ones that were supposed to do it originally, but the past administration.
A continuation of
continuation, but because in Nigeria there is no continuity in governance, and that's the reason. Everyone comes up, all right, with his own idea. They come with a paper because that settlement mentality is always there. So they wouldn't want to continue with the past administration, whether or not there are some things they were doing before they left office that it's good or not. Imagine this report. Tell me what would have happened if this report was implemented 12 years ago when the report was submitted. But then, come to look at it, cost of governance. This is one out of so many. You were mentioning the senators, the House of Rep members, and every other person up there. You're talking about them. That is just them. You're talking about what they take home and their benefits and how it affects governance. What about their cooks, their personal assistants, their cars, their people who work under them, PAs, and all of that? So much go into this, So there are so many things we need to look at as far as this report is concerned. What I would have actually, like you were talking about Falana, the lawyer, the son, the senior advocate of Nigeria, who was also part of the protest that just took place. Like you just said, see, what I think this administration would have done is revisit that report again. You understand?
Maybe some technicality.
Yes.
Maybe set up a technical committee to review some
look into this report, do a review, and see if it is implementable and if it will suit into this administration and the reality of the economy and the hardship in the nation and what people are going through at this very particular point in time.
Because the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Peter Obi, 2023 presidential candidate of Labour Party, has also aligned totally for government to implement this, but also had raised the concern that there must be a review,
There should be a review before implementation.
Because if you take a look at the committee in recommendations to some of the agencies of government, you quite find that some of the roles by some agencies are in one way or the other, you know, having a coincidence to the other. And it seems that we are now having more ministries, more agencies doing the same description of job. And then it doesn't in any way empowers them, you know, to have a robust focus, because everybody seems that this one is doing the job, like in a point of assumption. And that's the issue we're having. Look at the issue of the NCC and the network issues that we're actually having in this country. Look at the regulatory commissions of electricity and all of these. Some of these commissions and ministries are not really empowered to do their job because of several separation and segregation among them. Some people are agreeing to that report, that issues like that must be dealt with. A reduction of a ministry that agency or parastatal that is not really utilizing, you know, working for the betterment of the country must be scrapped.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I think that is true, because you can see related functions.
Yes.
And this, to an extent, causes friction in administration, because sometimes some of them are being careful. Let me not encroach into the duties of this director, because the director may pick up a quarrel with me, you understand, because I am trying to do his job. And one of the things, okay, that it's so obvious and it's known with the civil service is redundancy. A lot of this staff are redundant.
They're not doing their job.
They're not doing anything. And that's why you hear people say things like, oh, when you get to the civil service, everyone wants to work in the civil service. Sometimes I sat down and I was discussing with some youths, and I said, if you want to go work in the civil service, I look at some people who work in the civil service as being lazy. Because a lot of people are running into that place. Yeah, we know 35 years is guarantee. Okay, it's guarantee if you get and gratuity following afterwards, then you see pension coming in and all of that. Yeah, that is robust, that's good enough. But then going into a place where you will not be explored, the engagement will not be strong for you. You know, what you have on your inside, I will say this, anywhere I go, I say this, and I don't owe anyone apology for saying that, because I am a Nigerian, and I am a Nigerian youth. When you say Nigerian youths are lazy, I totally disagree with that. Nigerian youths are very intelligent people, just that they don't have the enabling environment to train, to thrive. You understand what I'm talking about? So when you talk about these ministries, okay, being merged and some being scrapped, well, it is going to cut down cost of governance. But then, if you are doing the same thing the same way and you are expecting a different result, then I don't think you will get that, because it is, cost of governance is beyond scrapping or merging of agencies and ministries. Because the same persons will still be there. The loopholes, the pockets where this money, these funds go into, is still there. So until certain things are being done, you see some persons, when they are getting to their retirement age, things change, especially the director. Someone, I was on a show with someone, on a program with someone, and the person said something like, the problem we have in ministries is because as you are leaving, the next director is telling the person coming in what to do, and the person will succumb because something is going to fall into the person's pocket, bureaucracy and all of that. So these are things we should also look at, apart from the merging of ministries. And kudos to the federal government for saying, well, this will not cost anyone its job. It was in the papers today.
Yes. Many thanks, Ramsey Enoch Abo, for a public affairs analyst and a broadcast journalist, for joining us on the decks for the conversations today on the issues. And of course, we do hope that the government must set up a committees, technical committees to review much of the recommendations by Steve regarding the state of cost of governance in the country and beyond. My name is Adikan Michael, and I appreciate my guest Ramsey for joining us on the show today. See you tomorrow. Keep watching Global Television.